to the river, wade in the water, go on under, come to the river.
Welcome to Down to the River with Pastor Adam from Oglesby Union Church. Down to the River is a fast 5 minutes to drink in some of the living water given to us by Jesus through studying His Word, the Bible. From Oglesby Union Church, here's Pastor Adam.
Happy Memorial Day weekend, and listen in this morning to a story that appeared in a small magazine called Guideposts titled A Time for Heroes, subtitled A Teenager Learns the Importance of Memorial Day by Nancy Sullivan Genge. I leaned against an oak at the side of the road, wishing I was invisible, keeping my distance from my parents on their lawn chairs and my younger siblings scampering about. I hope none of my friends saw me there. God forbid they caught me waving one of those small American flags Mom bought at Ben Franklin for a dime. At 16, I was too old and definitely too cool for our small-town Memorial Day parade. I ought to be at the lake, I brooded. But no, the all-day festivities were mandatory in my family. A high school band marched by, the girl in sequins missing her baton as it tumbled from the sky. Firemen blasted sirens in their polished red trucks, and uniforms on the troop of World War II veterans looked too snug on more than one member. "Here comes me, Ma," my father shouted. 5 black convertibles lumbered down the boulevard. The mayor was in the first, handing out programs, and I didn't need to look at one. I knew my Uncle Bud's name was printed on it, as it had been every year since he was killed in Italy, our family's war hero. And I knew that perched on the back seat of one of those cars, waving and smiling, was Mima, my grandmother. She had a corsage on her lapel and a sign in gold embossed letters on the car door, Gold Star Mother. I hid behind the trees so I wouldn't have to meet her gaze. It wasn't because I didn't love her or appreciate her. She taught me how to sew, to call a strike in baseball. She made great cinnamon rolls, which we always ate after the parade. What embarrassed me was all the attention she got for a son who had died 20 years earlier. With 4 other children and a dozen grandchildren, why linger over this one long-ago loss? I peeked out from behind the oak just in time to see Mima wave and blow my family a kiss as the motorcade moved on. The purple ribbon on her hat fluttered in the breeze. The rest of our Memorial Day ritual was equally scripted. No use trying to get out of it. I followed my family back to Mima's house, where there was the usual baseball game in the backyard and the same old reminiscing about Uncle Bud in the kitchen. Helping myself to a cinnamon roll, I retreated to the living room and plopped down on an armchair. And there I found myself staring at the army photo of Bud on the bookcase, the uncle I'd never known. I must have looked at him 1,000 times. So proud in his crested cap and his knotted tie, his uniform was decorated with military emblems that I could never decode. Funny, he was starting to look younger to me as I got older. "Who are you, Uncle Bud?" I nearly asked aloud. I picked up the photo and turned it over. The yellowing tape held a prayer card that read, "Lloyd Bud Hitzman, 1925-1944. A great hero." 19 years old when he died, not much older than I was, but a great hero? Could you be a hero at 19? The floorboards creaked behind me. I turned to see Mima coming in from the kitchen, wiping her hands on her apron. I almost hid the photo because I didn't want to listen to the same stories I'd heard year after year. Uncle Bud had this little rat terrier called Jiggs. Good old Jiggs. How he loved that mutt. He wouldn't go anywhere without Jiggs. He used to put him in the rumble seat of the Chevy coupe and drive all over town. And remember how Bud worked after we lost the farm? At haying season, he worked all day, sunrise to sunset, bailing for other farmers. And then he brought me all his wages. He'd say, "Mama, someday I'm going to buy you a brand new farm. I promise." There wasn't a better son in the world. Now, sometimes I wondered about that boy dying alone in a muddy ditch in a foreign country he had only read about. I thought about the scared kid who jumped out of a foxhole in front of an advancing enemy only to be downed by a sniper. I couldn't reconcile that image of a boy and his dog with that of a stalwart soldier. Mima stood beside me for a while looking at the photo. From outside came the sharp snap of an American flag flapping in the breeze and voices of my cousins cheering my brother at bat. "Mima," I asked, "what's a hero?" Without a word, she turned and walked down the hall to the back bedroom. I followed. She opened a bureau drawer and took out a small metal box, then sank down on the bed. "These are Bud's things," she said. "They sent them to us after he died." She opened the lid and handed me a telegram dated October 13th, 1944. The Secretary of State regrets to inform you that your son, Lloyd Hitzman, was killed in Italy. Your son. I imagine Mima reading that sentence for the first time. I didn't know what I would have done if I had gotten that telegram like that. Here's Bud's wallet, she continued, and even after all these years, it was caked with dried mud. Inside was Bud's driver's license with the date of his 16th birthday, and I compared it with the driver's license I had just received. A photo of Bud holding a little spotted dog fell out of the wallet. Jigs. Bud looked so pleased with his mutt. And there were other photos in the wallet. A laughing Bud standing arm in arm with two buddies. Photos of my mom and an aunt and uncle. Another of Mima waving. And this was the home Uncle Bud took with him, I thought. I could see him in a foxhole taking out these snapshots to remind himself of how much he was loved and missed. "Who's this?" I asked, pointing to the shot of a pretty dark-haired girl. "Marie. Bud dated her in high school. He wanted to marry her when he came home." "A girlfriend? Marriage? How heartbreaking to have a life, plans, and hopes for the future so brutally snuffed out." Sitting on the bed, Mima and I sifted through the treasures in the box. A gold watch that had never been wound again. A sympathy letter written by President Roosevelt, and one from Bud's commander. A medal shaped like a heart trimmed with a purple ribbon. And at the very bottom, the deed of Mima's house. "Why's this here?" I asked. "Because Bud bought this house for me." She explained that after his death, the U.S. government gave her $10,000, and with it she built the house she was still living in. "He kept his promise, all right," Mima said in a quiet voice I'd never heard before. And for a long time, the two of us just sat there on the bed. And then we put the wallet, the medal, the letters, the watch, the photos, and the deed back in the metal box, and I finally understood why it was so important for Mima and me to remember Uncle Bud on this day. If he had lived long enough, he might have built that house for Mima, or married his high school girlfriend. There might have been children and grandchildren to remember him by. As it was, there was only that box, the name in the program, and the reminiscing around the kitchen table. "I guess he was a hero because he gave everything for what he believed," I said carefully. "Yes, child," Mima replied, wiping a tear with the back of her hand. "Don't ever forget that." I haven't. Even today, with Mima gone, my husband and I take our lawn chairs to the tree-shaded boulevard on Memorial Day and give our three daughters small American flags that I buy for $1 at Ben Franklin. I want them to remember that life isn't just about getting what you want. Sometimes it involves giving up the things you love for what you love even more. That many men and women did the same for their country, and that's what I think of when I see the parade pass by now. And if I close my eyes and imagine, I can see Mima in her regal purple hat, honoring her son, a true American hero. Happy Memorial Day weekend from Oglesby Union Church, and say a prayer for the families who paid the ultimate sacrifice.
Join Pastor Adam this morning at Oglesby Union Church. They're right next to City Hall on Walnut Street, and their Sunday morning worship service starts at 10:15. Oglesby Union Church's mission is to know Jesus, grow in Him, go where He leads, and show His love. Drink more of the living water from Jesus today at Oglesby Union Church, and go down to the river again next Sunday morning at 8:25 on Classic Hits 103.9 WLPL.